Hey everyone, Samuel Kaiba here, with the behind the scenes to Worlds Apart 2. After the success of the first video, a lot of people were really interested to see what happens next in the story. So in this one there were a few main points I really wanted to cover, and that was finding out what happened to Krista, having Varric the villain get exiled to another dimension, reveal that there are in fact other worlds, explore a little bit more of what the Drogue are up to, taking all the people as prisoners and enslaving them. And I knew right from the beginning, before I started working on Worlds Apart 1, that the Drogue would end up invading at the end of the second one. So with the new animation comes a bunch of new sets. We had to design the fortress interior when Varric goes to meet one of the new antagonists. This was also built on the Songs of War world, as with many of the other sets from the first Worlds Apart. We created these giant cylinders and then went in and kind of put different layers on them, and I designed a layout in Paint that had like a side view and a front view, a top-down view. I had a lot of builders help out with this, including Calums, David, MP, Frog, Guardian, Justin, Clock, Knight, Logs, Lux, Mikkel, Piano Puppy, Starcraft and Tori. Everyone did an amazing job on this, and I'm really grateful for their help. I wanted the interior to have an elevator come down from the ceiling and land in the middle and create these cold looking pipes around, so it looked like the interior was bigger than it actually was, and then having this long, slow walk towards the leader made the scene feel quite tense. Some of the other new Drogue facilities including one that they pretty much built inside of the giant castle in the city. This one has the place where they take all the civilians and strap them up onto these harnesses and take them through the machine that turns them into their slaves. This set was also built by the same people, and originally it was much smaller, and it had these walkways that kind of turned at the edge of the map and went off into other areas, but in the end I just took what we did build and then duplicated it a bunch of times, so it ended up looking like this really long hallway that just disappeared off into the mist. On the other side of that we had the doorway that a lot of people thought was just lava that people would go through and just get killed. There was actually meant to be some kind of transparent door that they would go through, and it was implied that inside the armor that you see the civilians wearing would have been fitted onto them, and then by the time they come out their minds are taken over by the Drogue, as shown by the two civilians that we unfortunately had to take out. I can understand some of that confusion. One of the new locations that we found was when they pass through the portal and end up in a desert biome. You can see remnants of old Drogue structures in the sand. That scene was way desaturated down as well to make it feel even more lifeless. That portion of the map was actually taken from one of the deserts in the Songs of War world. You won't be able to recognize it if you see it in the series, but it has these huge desert landscapes that I thought were perfect for this. And then we have a return to the BPS city that was featured in a lot of previous animations. For the sequence at the end, when the fortress flies over the city, I thought it would be cool to see somewhere familiar have something so alien show up. Originally, the office map that we have, the BPS office, doesn't even have anything around it, it's just ocean. So I imported the city into the office map and had the city on the horizon line, which you can't really see in any other animations, but it made for a really nice final shot as they look over the balcony and see the ship in the sky. So we were introduced to a few more Drogue characters and some more Drogue assets, the main one being the Drogue leader that Varric goes to meet in the beginning before he's exiled. This character, of course, heavily inspired by GLaDOS, everyone's been pointing that out, and one of the robots from a short film called Ra. I went through a few different designs. I looked at a few on Turbo Squid and saw these robotic arms. I really wanted that arm coming from the ceiling type thing to get that nice shot of the head coming down and looking down at Varric as if he was so tiny compared to this thing. This model and rig was done by ZophieCat. She did an amazing job on it. The design went through a few different styles. One of the old ones had little arms on the front in case it needed to interact with things. Sometimes the eyes came out of the design, but I wanted this big solid head with a bunch of eyes, almost like a spider. It used to have just one eye, but having multiple ones made it feel a bit more menacing. A lot of the sound design in this was done by After Infinity, and he also did all of the sound design actually for the for this one scene, especially the bits where it moves, almost like a servo kind of arm. We also had a new Drogue Sentinel, which was the spider-like robot that Sam and Krista face in front of the generator. This was modelled and rigged by Phoenix 209. He also did an incredible job on this. Some of the older designs had far more detail on the model, but it started to look a little bit out of place in Minecraft. Like there was this whole circuitry inside the head that they could have jumped on and ripped apart, but it ended up looking a bit too detailed. So that was taken out. I always had this idea of a Minecraft cube being so misleading that there was something inside of it. So there was just this giant cube in the room and they come in and it's revealed that there's something inside. I thought that was really cool. And if you notice in an earlier scene, you'll see that there are two of those cubes in front of the Drogue leader. Just little Easter egg for you. The sound design for that was really cool. I got this cool sci-fi sound pack from Dan, and a lot of those made it into this animation, especially for the Sentinel. Since my character didn't actually have much firepower, I needed him to pick up a new Drogue weapon, so I introduced the new rifle that's also a sniper rifle. That was modelled by Thomas and rigged by Phoenix, and that one also had two firing modes, one being a normal rifle and one being similar to that of the Drogue Sentinel, but more of like a quick-firing sniper shot. The sound design for that was also taken from the sci-fi sound pack that Dan sent me. Also, the fortress had a new effect on it. This is what confused a lot of people. A lot of people asked how the fortress managed to fit through the portal, because it was so small. But in the shot where the fortress starts glowing, what actually happened was the way I set the fortress up, it was on a different render layer, and I used an alpha over node to have it fade into the clouds. That's why you see sometimes the fortress looks quite far away, because it's on a different render layer and it's masking itself in the clouds. But in this one I keyframed the alpha over to go from 100% slowly down as if it was disappearing. However, I didn't bring that down far enough, so you can't really tell that it starts to disappear, but the idea was the fortress teleported and went through to the other dimension. It didn't go through that tiny little ball, but if I end up doing a full movie at the end of all this, I'll be sure to adjust that so it's a bit more clear that it did indeed teleport. So as you're probably aware, this animation was a bit of a step up from the first one in terms of scale, so I knew I needed some help from some other people to be able to get this done in a realistic time and to a quality that I was happy with. So I brought on two animators. One was Red the animator. He animated the scene that had me jump after Krista and rescue her from the facility, as well as the scene immediately after that that had me and Krista interact with the two civilians. This one went through a ton of different passes because I really wanted it to get just right, because it was such an important moment in the story. All the little intricate movements as he was hanging on to her and breaking her free of the harness. It turned out so well, and I knew that he was really good at that stuff, so he did an amazing job on that scene. That scene also featured some of my favourite lighting, getting that nice blue mist disappearing off into the distance. That's one where I went in and did a lot of spotlight keyframing because there was a lot of smudgy noise on all the faces because it was such a dark scene, but it actually ended up making it look probably the best scene out of the whole thing. And it made me think, I wish that all the other interior scenes had that kind of lighting, because I'd gotten so much better since the beginning of the production. The other scene that was animated by another animator was the fight with the Drogue Sentinel. This was done by Zillion. He did such an awesome job. He is such a good fight animator. I knew I wanted a sequence of us interacting with the Sentinel to show that the gun didn't do anything, that its legs in front of it had shields that couldn't be penetrated. It was very acrobatic, with Krista doing flips and spinning around and deflecting and firing her blaster all at the same time. I knew from the beginning that I wanted her to run up the wall, jump, backflip, stab the sword into it, and then do a spinning backflip off of it, but I knew that I wasn't very good at that, so Zillion did such an incredible job on that. He also put together a bunch of shooting loops, as featured with the patrons at the end, when they were running away from the Drogue. I had a few that were running and shooting and then dying, and one that was behind cover and taking out a Drogue. He did such a great job on that as well. Oh, my knee. This animation definitely had some of my favourite lighting that I've done. From the beginning I wanted a lot of wallpaper shots, as we call them, that people could watch and go, whoa, I want that as a wallpaper. Especially the final shot with the fortress over the city, some of the earlier shots as I'm walking towards the village with the fortress in the sky and the castle on the other side. A lot of the time-dilated shots where Krista jumps towards the ship in slow motion. You got the ship on one side and her blue sword on the other. That sequence was actually supposed to be during the day, like every other sequence that we've seen in that world, but I thought showing that at the beginning was fine because it was immediately after I left in the first animation, so the lighting kind of made sense. But it was kind of boring to see the same thing again at the end, so I decided to do it at nighttime. But I was a bit worried because I thought, oh well, this world is kind of dry and dead, maybe having a very blue light might be quite strange. Seeing everything at night was actually really cool, and you could really see the drogue lights more prominently. I think it made for a really nice final rush towards the pole. This one didn't have many thumbnail designs. Considering how tight I was on the deadline, I only had about a few hours on the last day to do the thumbnail, but I didn't know if I wanted the fortress again, or to have Krista on the harness, or to even show the sentinel because its reveal in the cube was so cool. I think it turned out really nicely having this confrontation style thumbnail with a new design that we haven't seen yet. Overall though, I think it turned out really well. I definitely couldn't have done this without everyone's help. All the animators, the set designers, the modelers, all the sound design that Dan provided for me, all the feedback I got from all the animators, all the brainstorming assistance from David. It's just been such a group effort to get this thing done, and you know, I couldn't have done it without them. And as you saw from the ending, there's a massive cliffhanger, so if you are interested to see more, be sure to watch the video, share the video, just leave your thoughts in the comments on the video. I do read all the comments, and I'm really curious to see some theories on what they think happened to Krista and Varric and Sam. Like, are they going to fight? Are they going to team up? Are they going to be able to get back? Are they going to go to other dimensions? What dimension did they end up in? What happened there? Is it the Drogue homeworld? Is it just a world that the Drogue taken over, then moving on to the next one? Who knows? I'm sure we'll see in Worlds Apart 3. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.